I
but
like
we
that.
got a ton to go over today,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's
and
New
I mean,
Year's.
we can look, yeah, and we can look backward, we can look forward, and hey, so we are recording. Welcome everybody over 50 starting over our New Year's Eve edition. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
And once again, welcome into our show where we discuss topics that for people over 50 as our lives are in flux and changing personally and professionally, and just try to help each other out. If you guys want to write into us, give us a question, anything like that, on our YouTube and then over 50 starting over, or you can mail us at mail@over50startingover.com. There's no numerals in that, spell that out, and we'd love to get your feedback. So Merle, as our 2019 year closes, oh my God. But I mean, so much has happened with you this year for sure. Been a crazy year for me in the sense that I picked up some really good new clients, which was very exciting. But oh man, I lost a couple big sales that I was sure that I had. And both of those were towards the end of the year too,
Oh boy.
which really ripping my heart out because I thought I had big plans there. But tell me, wrap up your year. You had a crazy year.
Well, yeah, it was one of the craziest years ever for me. I mean, I ended last year in 2018 with one of the biggest sales I'd ever made in my entire life. And I tell you what, it was one of the most stressful deals I'd ever been through. It took years to close this. There was a lot of pressure on it, but we finally brought it in. It was multiple millions of dollars. I sort of had a hangover from that fast and furious close to the year in 2018 and the way we go in 2019. And that's when really the ship just kind of fell apart on me. Everything started to change at work. A lot of politics were going on over there. And I found myself out resigning from a position at Vocera Communications. And, I had done well for myself over the last several years. I was able to afford myself some time off. And so really from September until now, I've really had an opportunity to have some time to myself. And let me tell you, Barry, this has been one of the greatest times of my life. This has been outstanding. I have had despite all of the challenges I had in 2019, I think I've had one of the best years I've ever had in my life, culminating in being able to do this show with you. So
yeah,
2019 is going to be a year that I always look back on fondly. It's a transition period. I see that. But, it's exciting because anytime I've ever been in a transitional period like this, there's always something really great that's right around the corner that's just about to happen. And really, other times that I've gone through this kind of thing, there's been a bit of anxiety there of what am I going to do? What's going to happen? This time
Change
it's not like
scary.
that. Yeah, but
your faith is strong, man.
Well, plus I've experienced it before as well, and there's something to be said about that. And one of the things I know is that, hey, with God on your side, no matter what happens, it's gonna be okay, and I keep going from glory to glory. So I'm really, here we are at the end of 2019. I am so looking forward to 2020 and what's in store this year for me and what God has available for me. I mean, I'm chomping at the bit to find out, but here's something I've learned. Enjoy every day. Every day is a gift. Every single day has been, I just got to say this. When I first started to take time off, I thought my big concern was don't waste it. Don't just sit there like a bump on a log and do nothing. Do something with yourself. Enjoy. And, I really have had a chance to do that. I've read probably about 15 books since I've had time off. I've played my guitar. learned a whole bunch of new songs. I've gone on my bicycle, amazing adventures on my bicycle all through the canyons. I've had a chance to ride my motorcycle. I've had a chance to visit family. I've gone all up the coast. I've gone, Pacific Coast Highway all the way up to Monterey. That was amazing. One of the most beautiful rides I've ever been on in my life. Got to spend a whole bunch of time with Anne Marie. This has been amazing. So I think this was a great closeout to the decade.
I'm so glad to hear that. There is so much positivity in that. And I want to stress something that you said that I found very inspiring, is about your faith, having God on your side. And therefore, even though you're going through a substantial amount of change, but you feel so good about it, because there's times when a lot of us that work on having a good deal of faith will actually say, what is the lesson for me here, God? What did I do wrong? And be in that place of fear. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Even
I've been there.
Still having, yeah. So it's a very mature and evolved place that you've arrived at. So I think that we can all take some inspiration out of that. I do believe that I've said it before. I do believe that I say universe. I believe that the universe is always trying to pat us back onto the right path. So any changes that happen in life aren't because of some catastrophe that we need to learn from. It's really just, hey, adjust your course. I want you to go where you really should be going. And that is always to the place of our natural inclinations and talents. It really is. So finding our passion.
There's a lot to be said about what you're saying, natural inclinations and talents. And one of the things that I want to be very conscious of as I go into 2020 is really, where is my heart leading me?
Yes.
And I really feel like, you get to be in this situation where it's like, okay, I probably should do X, Y, Z, but my heart is really leading towards this. And the lesson I've learned in life is follow your heart. There's a difference between something you love and something you feel obligated to accomplish. And when you feel obligated, it's almost like, there's a guy behind you with a whip going, yeah. But when you are pulled in a certain direction, man, there's joy there. And I've learned in my life that when I'm being pushed towards something, that's not where I need to be. I need to be pulled in a certain direction. And I find that's what God does. When he has a will for your life, he's going to pull you. He doesn't push you. And so, really, Barry, this show is a great example of that. I felt pulled into this show. And
Me too.
I'm seeing, it was so wonderful when we first started talking about this over the summer. And we talked about it for a long time before that. But this summer, it was sort of magical. And it felt like this is it. This is where I'm supposed to go. And I really think that living my life that way going forward is going to lead to pure joy, just like
that's
right
fantastic. Now. Dude, that's fantastic. I love what you're saying. And I feel the same way. I think I felt compelled to do this show stronger or maybe before you did. And I got to a point where I was avoiding your calls and I was telling you, I don't want to talk anymore until we actually start recording. Yeah. And so there was a lot of upfront stuff that I had to take care of first. Just really glad I finally did. I was putting things off a bit. And yeah,
so all things work out. I mean, it's perfect timing. This is it. The time and space and opportunity came together at one time. And I know that, it's not just you and I that are getting something out of this. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that are really getting blessed out there and they're able to view their own situations in a very positive and healthy way. And really, the gratification I'm getting out of that is overwhelming. I love that.
It always is when you're helping people. We've mentioned that before, and it's worth repeating on a regular basis, is that as you're looking to do your work of passion, or even if you're reevaluating your current career, where we often lose our insights, our original intention. If you've lost track of the fact that you're helping people, if that's not your number one priority, then you're no longer working from a place of passion or love. So we need to take a look at that. Now, it could very well be that we have stayed in a career that we do not enjoy out of fear of change, of losing it. And I think by the time you get to our age, it's time to reevaluate that. You just will have a burning desire to do that. Anyway, so Merle, that's a quick look back on 2019. How about looking forward to 2020? I want to talk about New Year's resolutions or plans, and what I do want to talk about too is how to better keep a New Year's resolution, because it's a pet peeve of mine when I go to the gym regularly. I'm not a gym rat. I just need to exercise regularly. It's a need of mine. And I dread every January 1st to the second week. But by the third, they're all gone. All the new people that are coming in for the New Year's resolutions, and they just sit there on those machines staring at their phones. Oh, that drives me crazy.
Staring at their phones.
But I just take solace in knowing by week 2 to 3, they're all going to be gone.
Right. They are.
But I want to speak to that. I like to kind of laugh at it a little bit, but it is a serious thing. And if we want to make a change like that, whether it's diet or exercise, something that's kind of a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
You need to do it in a kinder way. So with these gym people that all fall off every year, they start off with grandiose plans. I'll tell you, I know a couple things that they're doing wrong, and that is having too big of goals in the beginning, expecting to do some crazy workout routines, maybe 4 or 5 days a week for 2 hours at a time or something. And I'm telling you right now, you need to make everything way much more attainable, much more, especially because it takes depending on which study you read, but between one study, one belief is it takes 21 days to make and break habits, to break habits and make new ones. It's another study that says 66 days. So let's just talk about the month of January. If you can get through that month of January, you have a good chance of making a lifestyle shift. So that 1 month is so important. That first day walking through that door is the most important thing. But that first week is incredibly important so that you're first of all doing something that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy lifting, then how about a Pilates class or yoga or spin class, riding the bike, doing treadmill, racquetball, volleyball. Myself, bicycling is my favorite thing in the world. But during about 5 months out of the year in Cleveland, I can't do a lot of outdoor biking. So I have to find alternatives out here. The important thing is to find something. Oh, the other thing that I do enjoy doing is I enjoy lifting weights, but I do it in a circuit training manner. That means I don't care about lifting a bunch of big, heavy weight. My ego's been long out of it. It's about not hurting myself. Right. First and foremost. Yeah. But it's about keeping my blood rate up, my heart rate up, staying winded. So I'm burning a lot of calories. So I move from machine to machine rather quickly. It's just a matter of all those people that are sitting in those machines like they're on furniture staring at their smartphones. It's a bit of a problem. But my point is finding something that keeps you coming back. If you're doing something that you just hate, then find something else and make everything sustainable. Don't expect to do more than 1 hour at a time. And for the love of God, in the first week, don't do so much that in the next day or two you tighten up so much and you're in so much pain you can't go back to the gym. Right. Be kind to yourself. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So Barry, that's really a great, those are great tips that you're giving right there. I have been that guy that, did the New Year's resolution on January 1st, and then I burnt out after a couple of weeks because I hurt myself. And that's the whole thing. We get this mentality that, hey, I'm gonna change my body in 3 weeks, and
Yes.
and then by the time you get to the third week, if you get to the third week, you're so thoroughly discouraged that you just don't have motivation to come back. Plus, you're in complete pain. So
Who wants to be in pain?
nobody wants to be in pain, and it's a big demotivator. What you're saying right now, just don't go for more than an hour. Do the things that you like, that you enjoy. Get into the habit first. So my experience, I joined a new gym about a year and a half ago, and I've been going, and at the time I just hadn't really been going to the gym for a while. I'd gained some weight. I didn't feel good about myself. I decided I would go to a gym that was a little bit nicer than the gyms I'd gone to before. The reason I did that was because I felt like if I really liked going to the gym, then I would be more motivated to go there. And it really worked. This gym that I go to Equinox. It's a nationwide type of organization, and they're very nice. It's like going to a spa. It's so clean. The machines are great. It's never so crowded that I have to fight for a machine in there.
Nice.
The trainers are extremely positive, but they don't bother you if you don't want to be bothered.
Right.
And so now one of my tricks is that I find that I demotivate myself by thinking too much about the workout I'm going to do. And so the day of my workout, and I go like every other day, the day of my workout, what I'll do is I'll obsess about how hard whatever set I had done, and I'm thinking about the pain, and man, that's demotivating. So I changed up my way of thinking about this, because here's the thing. I really like going over there. It's cool.
Nice.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Oh, and then after, the locker room is really nice. It's so clean. And the shower.
It's really important. It's
so
really important.
The showers.
Dude, going to I've worked out at the YMCA for years and stuff.
Me too.
And I'm a big proponent of it, but their locker rooms and showers and stuff are always like, you're going to get athlete's foot for sure.
And there's like a big gnarly spider in the corner, and it's just anyway, man, it's crazy. So and then like the finish, and this is a motivator for me, the showers they have, it's super high pressures in the soap and the conditioner and everything they have is top notch in there. Man, at the end of my workout, I get in that and come out of there, I feel so good. And I just think about that and think about how I'm going to feel good. And then I mindlessly go to the gym. I don't even think about it. I listen to, talk radio or whatever on the way to the gym. And a lot of times that's what I listen to during my workout. I'm either listening to, at the time that I go, Mark Levin is normally on, and so I like to listen to him. Or I'm a big Joseph Prince fan, so I'm listening to my sermons while I'm doing it. But the point is that I'm not just getting a physical workout; I'm getting a soul workout as well. So it's a body and soul thing. And man, does that ever feel good when I'm done? I mean, I feel fortified.
I gotta stress that too. I gotta piggyback on that too, because I listen to my podcasts while I work out. Some of them are entertainment, but most of them are marketing and self-improvement stuff. And so that's really important to me. And I also like to reiterate what you said about demotivating things. I have a friend that has been struggling getting back in the gym, and he'll talk about how he's having his coffee sitting in the parking lot at the gym and how many times he ends up driving away and not going, dude, get out of your car. When you park, get out of your car and get in there. Do not do that. Okay. And the same thing applies with, don't be sitting on those machines staring at your phone. Never do. I mean, if you're changing podcasts or something, fine. But realize you're demotivating yourself and you're really pissing off people around you. It's bad gym etiquette. Very bad.
You were just saying, though, about your friend that would go to the parking lot and then he would leave. It's funny that you said that, because here's my deal with myself. is just drive to the parking lot. And if you don't want to go in, drive away. I've never done that. I've never driven away. I go to the parking lot.
That's interesting.
That's my deal I have with myself. Just go over there. And that's if I just go over there and then this isn't it, or I go in and I decide, you know what, I'm not feeling it today. I'm going to give myself a break and I'm going to leave. And so just having that out and being okay with that
gets you in the car.
Yep. And it gets me over there. And by the time I get there, I just mindlessly go in. You know what I mean? I have these like attitude tricks that I pull on myself, and I really do fool myself. It's awesome.
I think certain personalities will take to yours, whereas mine, I don't know. I just know those blocks to avoid blocks. Like I said, like I'm not going to sit in the parking lot. And no, I will have to say, if I was listening to something on the radio, like on sports talk radio, I got to hear the end of this.
But wait,
could sneak.
I love what you're saying, because now we have these radio apps. So this happens to me all the time. I'll pull in, I'll be listening to Mark Levin, and I'll be like, oh my God, this is so good. The Constitution, I love it, weirdo. Anyway, I'm like, okay, I get my phone out, I put on the app, and the app is like 10 seconds behind the radio. So I put the thing on and boom, I'm in, and I walk right into the gym. I'm ready to go. It's I don't miss a beat. It's awesome. So I've figured out all these different things to get me into the gym. And then once I get in there, I'm so heads down. This is the cool part, is whatever I'm listening to, now I've got a routine in there. Whatever I'm listening to, I get so much into that I start doing my routine and I'm not even paying attention. Yeah. And I get about halfway through my workout. I'm like, what? I'm halfway through my workout. This is great. So, but I got to say this, Barry. This has taken some time for me. Like I said, I've been going regularly for about 1.5 years, and it's been discouraging, because it used to be when I was younger that I could go to the gym and 3 weeks later, I'm like, hey, I lost 26 pounds.
Sure.
It does not work like that anymore.
No.
And I see my body changing.
Yeah.
But not really losing weight. It's more converting fat into muscle. But then you get on the scale and you're like, what? My clothes fit better, but I've only lost 0.5 pound.
You're exactly right.
That? So
you're exactly right.
These are the things that we have to help each other with, because each time I go, I know it's making a difference. I might not be able to see it, but it's maintaining that momentum and not seeing things is a challenge. It's a challenge.
It really is. And speaking to the changes in our body, that we don't build muscle the way that we used to, as you were just talking about, that's why I've always done a lot of circuit training, but it's especially why I don't care about that I'm using a lot less weight than I used to. I care about not hurting myself.
I hear you. That's so important.
Burning
right?
calories.
Yes. Yeah. It's same thing, Barry, is that because, so my trainer had me doing these when I first went there. He's like, okay, do these exercises. In my mind, I'm thinking he's going to have me doing these really great, like weight, like, just got done with those babies back there. It's not like that. He's got me doing things with 5-pound weights that are kicking my butt. And I look so ridiculous out there. I'm doing these different, he's got these aerobic stretches.
Like shoulder exercise.
Yeah, there's some shoulder exercises with these 5-pound weights and then some 10-pound weights where I'm doing all this crazy stuff with it. But I mean, there's other guys there that are looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they've got like doing the same thing almost, and they've got like these huge weights, and I've got like this 5-pound weight. And so pride has a tendency to try to sting you, but I'm with you, man. I'm not there to impress anybody. I'm there because I want to be healthy. And so basically I just get in my own little world with my podcast and or my spiritual stuff. I don't even really look at anybody. I just do my thing and get into that wonderful shower and get the heck out of there.
What time of day are you best working on?
I'm an afternoon guy. I'm not a morning person at all. So when I was working, it was right after work. I'd fly over there and do my thing. But I really wish I was a morning person. Would just
Yeah.
get my butt to the gym first thing in the morning. Eh, I'm
I'm
not
the
that.
morning guy. I can't do the afternoon. I'm absolutely opposite of you. I'm so tired in the
Yeah.
afternoon that it wouldn't work. Now, I used to for years do midday because I can, but if I found that if I would be getting into something and midday became 2 in the afternoon or something like that,
Yeah.
it would really crush my work afternoon. And that
Yeah.
was getting to be prohibitive. So I went back to early mornings. And I do have to say, too, I like starting my day off feeling less foggy,
Yeah.
ready to go.
And that
Yeah.
helps. I know.
Yeah.
There's things that you just have to say, well, that's how I am, and then deal with that and make the best of it. So that's
Right.
that's what I've done with and so now that I haven't been working, a lot of times I'll go midday, which is great because nobody's there and I have the whole place to
Nice.
myself. Yeah, it's really great. That's something I've gotten used to for sure. We'll see
Yeah,
what
and
happens.
that's another thing about going after work. That's when about 75% of people do go. And so
Right.
you got to deal with the crowd.
Exactly.
I don't.
Exactly.
Hey,
Especially
just
in the
switch 'em.
locker room.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is like you're a bunch of dudes in there and
Standing
you're
around
all
naked.
crowded in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, no thanks.
Hey, we can come back and, as always, try to tie things back into New Year's as much as possible. But I had a few things that I wanted to talk about. Social, politically correct
Love it.
issues. Okay.
Great.
So
I love that.
football has come to an end, the regular NFL season. And once
Sorry
again,
about the Browns.
once again, the Browns fire their head coach. And
Right.
but I was thinking about, because I read an article about the Washington Redskins, and every time you see an article about the Redskins, they talk about their logo and the name of the team and the controversy around that. And that drives me crazy. Oh, because also it's related to the Cleveland Indians, the same thing. They retired Chief Wahoo as a result. And yeah, I did want to see your thoughts on it, because the way I feel about it, and because when I read articles like that, anything that's controversial, I like more than the article. I like reading the comments for wherever there are comments. And I'll tell you straight up, in these kind of issues, it is virtually 99% white people virtue signaling, telling you how they're standing up for the poor minorities, because they want to feel it becomes in my opinion, becomes a very self-serving thing where they want to feel better about themselves and insinuate that you're a racist.
Right.
And yeah, but they're on the better side of things. And I say this because I will always see comments like, well, I don't want to say American Indian. What's the politically correct term?
I'm not politically correct. Indians.
Okay, Indians. Well, they'll say, well, I'm of this persuasion and I've never been offended by this. So and my thought on it is, it's a celebration, okay? You don't call yourself like the West Virginia Hillbillies or the New England Butterflies or something, because,
Right.
You don't call yourself anything derogatory. You want to call yourself something cool that you feel good about and celebrate.
Exactly right. Well, here's the thing with all the animal rights people out there, where are the people mad about the Chicago Bears or the poor Bears or the Arizona Cardinals? Like, oh man, we're picking on Cardinals. Oh, look, we depicted a Cardinal's face. What a terrible thing. I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I've never heard of any Indians that are really offended by the Cleveland Indians or Chief Wahoo. I never heard that. Maybe there's a couple, but gosh,
you'll find one or two radicals because they see they're getting the attention.
Because the majority of people that are Indians are upset about the Braves or the Cleveland Indians or the Washington Redskins. I just don't think that they're upset about that. I think they've got bigger things to be concerned about than if the Washington Redskins logo is there or not. By the way, when I look at the Washington Redskins logo, I think, man, that's cool.
That's a cool logo.
Yeah, it
is.
I mean, Chief Wahoo is a little cartoonish, but man, we sure did have fun with Chief Wahoo. And I mean, it represented a great tradition in Cleveland, and it certainly wasn't making fun of Indians whatsoever. Hey, I took one of those DNA tests and I found out that I'm 1% Indian, and that 1% of me is not offended at all. So just saying.
I love it. Here's the end result that don't take this too lightly, is when we listen to these very small minority groups, because basically they're getting on a soapbox for their own self-interest. The end result here probably will be that we have now got to completely stop celebrating all American Indian culture. We have to remove all evidence of celebrating this culture. Do we really want that?
Well, and it begs the question, what about the Fighting Irish or the Vikings? I mean, they come from Scandinavia, and then Irish. So are we offending the Irish or the Scandinavians? I mean, no, they're not complaining. So It seems like what's really happening here is political special interest groups, and usually what's happening is that they're somehow using the people that are Indians in order to pretend that somehow they're offended. But I'm telling you, this is how bureaucrats get a whole bunch of money and tax dollars, or hate crimes or whatever. There's money involved in this kind of thing. There's political power involved in this kind of thing. So whenever I see that kind of thing happening to one race or people, but then there's another race or people that are equally being represented that way and no one's saying anything, that there's a political reason behind it, and it doesn't have anything to do with we care about the Indians, even though, we do. They're Americans just like we are, but they're not more equal than we are. And usually when we pick out a group of people like that, it's for their exploitation. Plain and simple.
Oh boy, you just hit the nail on the head there, and that is kind of powerful. Okay, right along the same lines, and still with football, what do you think of the Rooney Rule?
I don't know what the Rooney Rule is.
Okay. This is very simple. It's affirmative action in football. So the Cleveland Browns just fired their coach, and I want them to go after Mike McCarthy quickly before somebody else scoops him up, because he's got an amazing record with the Green Bay Packers. But they have to interview a black coach first.
Okay.
That's the Rooney.
I've never heard of that before, and I'll tell you.
It's been like 20 years old. It's about 20 years old.
I'm disgusted by that. I'm thoroughly disgusted by that. I think.
And why? Please explain that. Okay. You're black. I'm not.
It's bigotry. That's bigotry. Sorry. That's what I think. If I found out that before you could interview me, they've got to interview a person of another race, I don't care what color you are. If they're making a decision to interview somebody because of their color ahead of you, that's bigotry. There's no way around that. And by the way, we live in a time where equality is happening. And so I believe in what Martin Luther King said. He said that he had a dream, and the dream was that people would be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. Well, the NFL has made a lot of poor decisions, and this is one of them. I personally, as a black man, never want to be favored because I'm black. I want to be judged on the content of my character, not the color of my skin. And if somebody were to give me a job because I'm black, and I find that out, I'm quitting that day. That is disgusting. And I never want to be a part of any kind of prejudice or any kind of bigotry. And that's bigotry. And I'm really disgusted and disappointed with the NFL. I mean, it started out with Colin Kaepernick and kneeling for the national anthem. I boycotted the NFL at that time.
My brother did too.
And I've never been able to come back. The NFL, as you know, Barry, when we were roommates, my gosh, Sunday was the biggest day of the week for us. I mean, we couldn't wait for Sunday afternoon to watch those Browns games. But I'm telling you, when they started kneeling down to the flag, you're the NFL, for God's sakes. You're the National Football League. You've stolen red, white, and blue and put it into your logo, and now you're going to kneel down to our national anthem on TV. Do you know that if it weren't for America, none of you would ever make the type of money that you're making. None of you would have the influence that you have. America made that happen, and you're spitting in her face. And I stopped watching. I loved football, and today I just won't watch it. It's they're not kneeling down en masse like they were before. They ruined it for me. They have exposed themselves as a leftist political machine, and it's not American anymore. In fact, I think they should change their name. I don't want them to be the National Football League. They can be a football league, but they have nothing to do with my country anymore.
Oh, I like what you're saying, and that's very powerful. I feel the same way too. I think that, first of all, you have to look at it like, who can go to work and do that?
Nobody.
And behave that way? It's self-serving once again. You know, I think Colin Kaepernick is the most self-serving. He's young. He's so young. He found a way to make a symbol of himself and get attention and get $100 million Nike deal and all of that. So that is what it is. But the other thing is, I had a friend bring up a very good point about how do you solve this problem? And he goes, I heard that you know, years ago, we didn't bring the players out until after the national anthem. Just go back to that. Yeah. I'm like, cool. Yeah, just do away with the problem.
That would solve it.
This is why we can't have nice things. You know?
You sound like my parents, yeah.
And I meant to. It is when you got one spoiled brat that goes in, messes with the system for their own self-serving ideology. And another thing, what was the end game there? Was there like, okay, well, once, it was about, I think it was about social justice inequality, meaning black people getting pulled over by cops more than white people.
I guess.
So what's the end game? We're supposed to stop pulling over black people.
What a great question. No. There was no end game. My question has always been, well, what's going to make Colin Kaepernick not kneel down to the flag? And there was nothing. There was no criteria. He said, well, when things get better. Well, what does that mean? Things get better. I mean, first off,
things are always getting better.
The entire thing that you're kneeling down on, the premise you're kneeling for is completely erroneous. You start to look at the stats out there, and this is all made up. So, and here's another thing. As a black man in America, there's never been a better time for black people here in America. I'm not treated any differently than anybody else out there. I'm in an interracial marriage. Nobody says anything when I'm walking around. I'm a big guy, of course. Probably most folks wouldn't say anything, but guaranteed people will say something. I've lived long enough to know that. We live in the best time that American history has ever been able to produce, as far as
the best time in the best place in the world too.
Yeah, and the U.S. is the most prosperous place in the world, the most free place still in the world. And so this whole thing about kneeling down to the flag and disrespecting the flag with no criteria to make it better, so it's just a perpetual protest against America. Yeah. That's not right.
You just said it. You just nailed it on the head. It's just a perpetual protest against America.
And it's never going to end. You're never going to make them happy. They're always going to. And here's the other thing. There is so much money in hating America. Notice how Nike is in the middle of all of this hate America stuff. And notice how Nike has this humongous resource in China right now. Nike is making billions and billions of dollars off of China right now, and they're making more money out of China than any place else. It's where the world's biggest population is. You saw where LeBron James came out and said that this person and the coach, who was it in Houston, didn't know history when the guy was defending Hong Kong and their civil rights, and LeBron came out and just trashed this guy and said that he didn't know history. In other words, LeBron was defending China. And he was saying that this person didn't know the human rights record of China. Well, LeBron, you are wrong. First off, LeBron's making about $1 billion off of Nike. I don't know if you knew that or not. The guy has got about $1 billion contract with Nike. Of course, he's going to defend China. Nike and China are in bed together. If the NFL disparages China in any way, it damages Nike's business. These guys are financially motivated to get in bed with China. China is our enemy. America's number one enemy is China. And we have to be looking out for those guys. And you can see where our sports machines now, including the NFL, are in bed with Nike and China. I would be looking out for that.
Oh, yeah, Merle, think about it. Nike's getting their shoes sewn by 4-year-olds over there for about, $4 a day. Yeah. And so look at that, that circle that is happening there.
It is. And the same thing's happening with our cell phones, too.
Oh, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. No, that's horrible. I want to wrap up what we're talking about. So I brought up the Rooney Rule, which really disgusted you. I would have to assume that you feel pretty much the same about affirmative action.
I do. It's over. Why do we have affirmative action anymore? That should have.
It keeps us in the past, doesn't it?
It does. And here's the hard thing about affirmative action. Maybe there was a time that we absolutely needed to have that. But here's the problem with the federal government is just like the Patriot Act. If you open the door, they'll never close it. You see, what happens when you open that door is you give the federal government an opportunity to use people and use them for their own agenda. And that's happened with affirmative action. That's happened with the Patriot Act. All of us are being spied on right now. I mean, that happened.
Oh, the Patriot Act took our rights away from us.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So here's what I'm saying. Affirmative action, you open the door to affirmative action where you can literally favor one race of people over every other race. Yeah. Politicians love when that happens because, look,
divide and conquer.
If you take a look at racism and how political parties have used racism. Take a look at the Civil War. Take a look at how it all started. Take a look at the politics over the last 150 years, 180 years since the Civil War. Racism is big money. And it's big money in politics. It causes huge amounts of power, one way or the other. When it was discriminating against people, it caused people to get into power. When they were saying that it wasn't discriminating against people, which, by the way, when they say it's not discriminating, like affirmative action, now we're going to fix discrimination. No, you're discriminating by fixing discrimination.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
In other words, now we have discrimination. It just comes in a different form. And funny, the government's always behind it. I just think, open up your eyes, look at what's really happening right here.
Well, the media is so complicit in this for the very reason this is inevitable, because as we just so quickly got the internet and everybody got a blog, and now we have all this instant news, like we went from 4 television outlets for your news that you looked at once or twice a day to now it's a continuous 24-hour, who gets it out quickest kind of thing. And everyone that wants to make a living being a journalist, and I say journalist in quotes, but you will quickly find that, first of all, your success is being measured by interactivity, like blog hits, comments, that kind of thing. So you will quickly find that if you say something about racism, you accuse somebody of racism, you say racism in any way, you will get a 3,000% increase in your blog hits. And I don't know those numbers for sure. I mean, you just know this. It incites people. It gets everybody worked up. Then they start getting vicious with each other, and you can't beat that. So that the media is so complicit in this. But this is also young. I'm kind of hopeful that we'll slowly find our way out. We've talked about social media being in its infancy, and I'm also hopeful that people will realize that they have a virtual reputation online, and that is almost as important as their true reputation, and people start to grow up. Not sure, though.
No, but you're right. The virtual reputation, that's a huge thing that people don't actually think about. I think about it all the time. Even doing this show, you have to think about that because people now have more access to your life than ever before in all of human history.
Right. Well, hey, because we got to move along, we got 15 minutes left, and we got a few other subjects we want to talk about, fun stuff. It's a little more political, but let's catch up on the impeachment thing, which I don't know if there's a lot of news right now, but what do you got?
There's not everything. Yeah, there's not a lot of news that's going on right now. I mean, we're still in a holding pattern. You know, the deal is that Nancy Pelosi is still holding on to the articles of impeachment. Chuck Schumer is out now, and he is wanting to bring new witnesses in. That's been an ongoing thing for the last week and a half since the impeachment, and he wants to bring in, among others, Trump's chief of staff, Mulvaney. This is unprecedented because all of those witnesses should have been the responsibility of the House to bring in. And of course, we've got this whole obstruction of Congress article of impeachment where the president claimed presidential privileges, and therefore some of the witnesses that the Democrats asked for weren't able to come in. And then, of course, that's how we got the obstruction of Congress. This is pretty standard stuff, though. And I just know this, that I believe the reason that Nancy Pelosi is holding on to the articles of impeachment is because this is the power. The power is that he's been impeached. The power for the Democratic Party is not going to be when they go to the Senate. I'm not sure how long she's planning on holding on to that, but if I were in her shoes, I'd try to hold on to it through the election. I mean, that's what I'd be trying to do, because it's going to be a great thing for the Democrats to say, hey, this guy's been impeached, and not allow the Republicans to come back and say, well, he's been acquitted of this whole thing.
Right.
Now, what I think is
worse, Merle, is that they're going to say this is not constitutional. Isn't that the worst part of this?
Well, I think it is, because it sets a precedent for every single president that comes after this to be impeached. So, yeah, I agree. I really believe that what's happening right now through this political process is endangering our Republican style of government. Right. And so that's why I'm wondering, well, why isn't the Senate acting? Why isn't Mitch McConnell pressing on this? Why doesn't he just demand the articles of impeachment? Or why not just start moving ahead with the Senate trial? I was reviewing the Constitution over the last week to see what the Constitution stipulates as far as what's supposed to happen after the impeachment, and it's pretty clear that all this stuff Nancy Pelosi is talking about finding out about what the rules are and then selecting who the managers are, and that's why she's holding. That's not in the Constitution. Here's what the Constitution says. It says that the House is responsible for impeachment and the Senate is responsible for the trial and possible conviction. There's no in between. There's nothing in between those two. So if I'm Mitch McConnell, I'm gonna start moving this thing forward. And if Nancy has anything to say about it, the proper channel is to go through the court system. Well, it's interesting when I say that, because that's exactly what the Trump administration was trying to do during the House hearings. Is he was saying, hey, I'm going to claim privileges. He sent his lawyer over to court to get the court to weigh in on it. In the meantime, they impeach him. And if you take a look at the history, every single president, all 45 presidents, have claimed presidential privileges, that they're not going to let certain information go into Congress. And there's a reason for that. It's because there are certain things that need to be kept secret from the rest of the world. You can't just say what all of our political secrets are so that our enemies can come and find out and take advantage of that. So This is an interesting place that we're in right now. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen next, but I do know and believe that this is doing a lot of damage to the Democratic Party right now. And if you take a look at the front runners in the race, Joe Biden is in the lead. But man, I see his position as really precarious because of all of the legal situations that he's going to be facing when all of this information comes out about the Ukraine.
I would think a lot of people would be facing some legal situations, but I've thought that throughout the last 3 years, and I've said before they seem to be impervious to prosecution.
You know, two things. You brought that up last week, and I was saying, well, they can't be impeached. One of the things that I did was a little bit of research on the Constitution since last week, and there is something in there, Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution actually talks about the ability for Congress to expel a member of Congress. So that has happened in the past. The last time something like that happened was in 2010 when they were going to expel a Democrat congressman, and he resigned before that actually happened. So as you take a look at some of these things, like, for instance, Adam Schiff subpoenaing the records of a journalist, the president's lawyer, and a ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. These are things that you could be expelled for, and things that have happened in the past. So that could possibly happen. I was going to bring up something else regarding the impeachment, but it kind of slipped my mind. But I do see that this is causing some serious damage. And when you take a look at the amount of money that the Republicans have been able to raise for the campaign over the last several months compared to the Democrats, it's an exponential difference between Republicans and Democrats. So it's going to be interesting to see how this moves forward.
Yeah, it seems like a very high-risk power play. They have a lot to lose, and I don't see what to gain. But
it seems to me like if this were Vegas, this is the roulette table, and bet it all on 22 black. I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
It does. It does. All right. If whatever your last point was comes back to you, feel free to bring it back up. I want to just ask you, we got just a couple other little things in the news that I think once again have social implications, like the Texas shooter. Okay, so you read about that last one. Gunman kills 2 in White Settlement Church before. I don't know why in this one they needed to say White Settlement Church.
Oh, that's the name of the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the name of the town.
Oh, okay.
I know, I was confused. I'm like, what? White? It says like all the newscasts. They keep showing the welcome to the town, and it says welcome to White Settlement. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, no kidding.
So that is the name of the town, and I'll just weigh in on that real quick.
Sure.
This past weekend, actually, the past several days leading up to that, there have been a whole bunch of attacks on our First Amendment, and that is freedom of religion. And what we've seen in New York City were 7 attacks on mostly Jewish people. And in synagogues, we saw where a rabbi's house was invaded by a person in New York, and he stabbed several people at the Hanukkah party. We're seeing, and then we saw the horrendous view of this person who dressed up with a fake beard and some kind of a knit hat, that he came into this church in Texas with a hidden shotgun. And it's pretty hard to hide a shotgun, but a hidden shotgun, and then just started shooting. Fortunately, at the church, it's really interesting. These people had trained for this. They had security there that was trained for an active shooter, and they were able to take the guy out before he did too much more damage. I believe 2 people were actually killed in that whole thing. But here's what's also interesting is, why is this happening? Do you know that right now, as far as hate crimes go, by far the most hate crimes that are happening in America are happening towards Jews? About 50% of the hate crimes right now are happening towards Jewish people. And the churches are being attacked as well. And we wonder, why are these things happening? What could be causing these things? Why is the church and the synagogues being attacked? I really believe it comes down to a lot of the hatred that I see on television. And a lot of people want to blame Donald Trump for that. But I got to tell you, there seems to be a concentrated effort against Christianity and Judaism out there in America today. And one of the things that I saw on the same day, yesterday, when this shooter was shooting inside of the church, on that show, Meet the Press, where Chuck Todd is the host. That used to be a great show. I used to watch that growing up, but really it's become radical over the past couple of years with Chuck Todd. And yesterday, as the shooting was about to happen, he was on TV reading a letter to the editor to I think it was the Pennsylvania Herald, a newspaper there. And he was saying, I just want to say, why people are supporting Trump. And he read this letter, and the letter actually said something like, the people want to feel good, and the president tells so many lies that it just makes people feel good. I'll tell you what, if you show me somebody that believes in Noah's Ark, I'll show you a Trump supporter. Well, that's what Chuck Todd read, and he read it in his snide sort of way, to say, if you believe a silly lie like Noah's Ark, then you're a Trump supporter. In other words, people that are Christians are stupid, and those are the people that are supporting Trump. And, this is sort of a thing we've been hearing. Hillary Clinton said that people like me who believe things that I believe are deplorable. We're seeing this political hatred towards Christianity. The Democratic Party voted Christianity out of their party platform back in 2012. So we're seeing America that was founded on Judeo-Christian principles moving very far away from Judeo-Christian principles. And lo and behold, all these shootings are happening at the same time, many of them inside of the church. And they're blaming Donald Trump for this. I know.
I totally agree with what you're saying. Certainly, there's been a radicalization of the mainstream media for sure. And I wanted to point out, I just went through the entire abcnews.com site, which is pretty far left, and could not find anything about that Texas shooter. And because the main narrative about that is that there was a guy in there trained with a gun in order to prevent those situations. So it supports concealed and carry.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah,
isn't that something?
So
isn't that something?
But I will also say that and this is easy to find, I've read plenty of statistics about how, the mass shootings are the biggest thing of our concern. And the fact of the matter is in all ways, this kind of violence, gun violence, has been on a downward trend.
It has.
It's just that we keep hearing about our news sources are instantaneous and everywhere. And that's what it is more than anything. I think that we're getting a better handle on it. But, at the same time, that guy that came in with the shotgun in the Texas incident he's definitely mentally ill. I think anybody that does that is going to some degree be mentally ill, but he truly is clinical. And that's a huge, huge issue that we have in this country, that we don't know what to do with people that not even close. You can see the signs and you just have no recourse, nothing to do with
agree. And you're right. I mean, this is where the rubber hits the road, and because of
Yes.
our laws around HIPAA, it makes it impossible when they're doing background checks to actually find out if this person has any type of a history of mental problems. So there's their number
Yeah.
one area. But I would say this as well, that if I'm that guy's lawyer, the first thing I'm going to say is, you're insane, right?
Sure. Of
You're
course.
insane,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah. And
Of
because
course.
I saw that guy's lawyer yesterday, and he was saying, well, the guy, he was hallucinating, and one could say he was seeing demons. And that's probably what I would say if I were that guy's defense attorney. I mean, it's a
Right.
lot better to get off on an insanity plea than to face the death penalty in Texas.
Yeah, I completely agree. But think about, it's kind of obvious that the condition of this guy's mental state, that he made a conscious decision to go into this church in Texas and, try to shoot up as many people as possible.
Right.
I don't think he was expecting to walk away. He didn't care about the consequences. There was no good end to that scenario for him.
I agree, but I don't know that makes him insane.
Oh, okay.
That's an
Okay.
insane
That's certainly
thing to
debatable.
do,
We
but
are
I don't
at,
know if he is
yeah.
insane. That's my thing, is that I would go and argue he's insane just to get him off. But I don't know that
Sure.
just because he did lots of people do crazy things, that doesn't make him insane.
I understand what you're saying. There's just a lot of evidence for his past of.
But it just happened. So this is what I'm saying. Like yesterday, I heard that he was stabbed with a machete, that he stabbed people. I heard a guy say that, I'm sorry, the one in New York, that this guy came in and stabbed people with a machete. I'm sorry, a machete isn't something you stab people with. When these things first start happening, a lot of information comes out. This is why we have courts, and this is why we have trials. So the real information, not the hype, the real information comes out. And I feel like within the last 24 hours, we've heard a lot, but it sure seems like we don't have the whole story.
Oh, I'm sure you're right about that. You're absolutely right. And we try to come to our own armchair justice here before all that comes out. But yeah, it's still interesting from a social commentary point of view. So
Truly.
We are at a minute or an hour and 2 minutes to wind this thing up. But I want to get back to that. We are about to, in several hours here, embark on a whole new year, 2020, where we can finally say it's the 20s instead of the aughts, or not knowing what to call the previous decade.
Isn't that cool? And look, it's the roaring 20s.
Yeah, think about that. How cool is that?
Roaring 20s. I know.
And you're right, Merle. What you said earlier is absolutely true. Our society keeps getting better and better. Boy, I wish we could straighten out the mainstream media, though, and stop the hysteria so that we can embrace how much better things are getting.
Well, we're doing our part right now.
Yeah, we absolutely are. So I hope everybody has a great new year. And please like and share our video and our audio, so you could catch us on all your basic podcast channels, and certainly on YouTube. Please leave us a comment and subscribe. And any parting words there, co-host?
I just want to say Happy New Year and God bless everybody watching the show. And we want to see you when the clock or the calendar turns. And we're looking forward to hanging out with you in 2020.
Yeah, for sure. Looking for a whole bunch new great shows in the coming new year, because you're right. We just got started towards the end of 2019. We only got a bunch more good things to look forward to.
We'll see you next time, Barry.
Year,
Happy New Year to you. Enjoy.